The sky cracked open with fire. Kara Voss shielded her eyes as the alien warships descended, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian under the sun. They didn't bother with stealth, didn't need to. The broadcast had been clear. Asterisk, by order of the Galactic Union. Earth is now under protectorate status. Resistance will be met with annihilation. Asterisk, around her, the streets of New Seattle erupted in chaos. People screamed, some dropping to their knees as if prayer could soften the invader's verdict. Kara didn't pray. She counted. 12 ships, each the size of a mountain, hovering just beyond the atmosphere. Their weapons weren't even charged. Why would they be? Humans had nothing that could scratch them. A hand grabbed her shoulder. Captain Elias Rook, his military jacket singed from the riots 2 days prior. They're setting up checkpoints in every major city, he said, voice low. They're calling it stabilization. Kara spat onto the pavement. Funny word for a leash. The aliens, asterisk Velith asterisk, they called themselves, had arrived 3 weeks ago, their arrival heralded by the silent collapse of every satellite in orbit. No warning, no demands. Just a single transmission, repeating on every frequency. Comply or be erased. Earth's governments had fractured within hours. Some surrendered outright. Others, like the remnants of the North American Defense Corps, pretended they still had a choice. Kara and Elias didn't pretend. They slipped into the ruins of a subway station, its tunnels now home to the NAG scattered resistance. The air smelled of sweat and rusting metal. Lieutenant Chun, their demolitions expert, was hunched over a stolen Vela sidearm, prying at its casing with a screwdriver. It's not just plasma, she muttered. There's a secondary emitter, some kind of pulse that disrupts nervous systems. Nasty stuff. Elias exhaled sharply. Can we replicate it? Chun laughed brittle. With what? A toaster and hope. Kara crouched beside her, studying the weapon's inner coils. The tech was decades ahead of human engineering, but not incomprehensible, just different. We don't need to replicate it, she said slowly. We need to break it. A murmur rippled through the room. Elias folded his arms. Explain. She tapped the weapon's power core. Their systems are linked. Same energy signature in every device. If we can overload one, we might cascade the failure. Asterisk might asterisk, Elias repeated. Kara met his gaze. Better than kneeling. The first test was a disaster. The bomb, built from scavenged Vela batteries and a stolen ship's regulator, detonated too early, taking half a warehouse with it. Kara's ears rang for hours afterward. Her hands blistered from shrapnel. But the data was clear. For 3 seconds, every Vela drone in a kilometer radius had stuttered. Elias stared at the footage, his jaw tight. 3 seconds isn't a window. It's a death sentence. Then we make it longer, Kara said. They tried again. And again. By the 6th attempt, they'd narrowed the effect to a precise frequency. One that forced Vela systems to reboot. It wasn't a weapon. Not yet. But it was a weakness. The Velith didn't notice. Why would they? To them, humanity was a footnote, a species too busy tearing itself apart to matter. Their patrols strutted through cities like gods, confiscating anything that smelled of rebellion. They didn't see the shadows watching, learning. Then came the night Kara's team ambushed the patrol. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. Chen's modified EMP knocked the Velita's armor offline for 5 full seconds, just long enough for Elias to put a bullet through the commander's skull. The rest fell quickly after. Kara stood over the bodies, her pulse roaring in her ears. The Velith weren't invincible. They bled. When the alien reinforcement arrived, they found only ruins and a single message, scrawled in human blood across the broken pavement. The Velita's response was swift. Dawn painted the sky in smears of orange and black as their gunships scorched the ruins of New Seattle's eastern district. Retribution for the slaughter patrol. Kara watched from a shattered office tower, her fingers digging into the crumbling concrete ledge. They weren't targeting military installations. They were burning homes. Elias's voice crackled in her earpiece. They're herding survivors into the transit hubs, calling it relocation. Kara didn't need to ask where. The labor camps on Mars had been a rumor for weeks. Now they were policy. Chun tossed a mangled Velocom unit onto the table between them. They're not even encrypting their channels anymore. They think we're too primitive to intercept. The disdain in her voice could have melted steel. Kara picked up the device, tracing its alien glyphs. Arrogance made creatures careless, and the Velith were nothing if not arrogant. The plan was simple. Steal a ship, not one of the sluggish patrol skiffs. A real vessel, something with teeth. The Velith dockyards orbited just beyond the moon, a sprawling graveyard of decommissioned warships awaiting salvage. Getting there meant sneaking past the orbital blockade. Kara's hand shook as she wired the last of the stolen power cells into their jury-rigged shuttle. It stank of burnt insulation and desperation. This'll hold for one jump. Maybe. Elias checked his sidearm. A crude slug thrower, useless against Velith armor unless you shove it down their throats. Then we make it count. They launched under the cover of a sandstorm, their heat signatures lost in the swirling chaos. The Velith didn't notice. Why would they? Human ships didn't leave Earth. The dockyards were worse up close. Derelict hulls stretched for kilometers, their once gleaming surfaces pocked with asteroid scars. Kara's breath fogged in her helmet as she magnetized her boots to a frigate's hull. This one, she whispered. It was older, its design less streamlined than the newer models, but Kara recognized the telltale bulge of a plasma lance battery. A warship, stripped but not yet broken. Chun was already inside, her torch slicing through the rusted hatch. Reactors are intact, she reported. We can power it up if we bypass the security locks. Elias swept his rifle down the darkened corridor. How long? Longer than we have, Kara muttered, prying open an access panel. The Velith's security protocols were elegant, their logic crystalline, beautiful, and inflexible. She grinned. The alarms blared too late. By the time the dockyard sentries realized the frigate's engines were live, Kara had already hot-wired the weapons. The first plasma lance tore through a patrol skiff like paper. The second shattered the dry dock's containment field. Chaos erupted. Velith ships scrambled, their formations pristine even in panic. Elias gripped the navigation console as the frigate shuddered under counterfire. We can't outrun them. Kara didn't plan to. She slammed the throttle forward, aiming straight for the dockyard central reactor. The Velith's comms exploded with chatter. First fury, then confusion, then fear as they realized the frigate wasn't stopping. At the last possible second, Kara yanked the ship into a spiraling turn, skimming the reactor's shielding. The frigate's belly scraped metal, screaming. Then she triggered the EMP. Every light in the dockyard died. Ships drifted, powerless. Weapon systems sputtered offline. For one perfect, silent moment, the Velith were blind. Kara didn't wait. She punched the coordinates for Earth into the NAVCOM and prayed the engines held. Behind them, the dockyard burned. The Velith's next transmission wasn't a demand. It was a question. Asterisk, where you? Asterisk. Kara played it on loop as she worked, the words curling around her like smoke. She didn't answer. Let them wonder. Chun dragged a crate of scavenged parts into the hangar. They'll come harder now. Elias checked the frigate's patched hull. Let them. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall. Kara watched it settle on the broken city, white on gray. The Velith had asked what they were. Soon they'd asterisk know. The Velith armada darkened the sky. Kara counted them from the frigate's cracked viewport. Dozens of warships, their hulls bristling with weapons meant to erase cities. Not a patrol, not a warning. A fleet. Elias tightened his grip on the ship's controls. They finally took us seriously. Chun laughed, sharp and joyless, as she armed the stolen plasma lances. Took them long enough. The comms hissed to life. A Velith commander's voice, cold and mechanical, filled the cockpit. Asterisk, surrender the frigate. Disable your weapons. This is your final opportunity to avoid extinction. Asterisk. Kara flicked the transmission off. They still think we'll kneel. Outside, the first barrage of orbital fire streaked toward Earth. They had one shot. Kara's fingers flew across the frigate's stolen systems, rerouting power from life support from engines, from everything but the weapons and the jury-rigged device bolted to the ship's underbelly, a resonance bomb, built from scavenged Velotech and human stubbornness. Elias banked hard, dodging a plasma volley that would have vaporized them. How long? 30 seconds, Kara snapped. Just get me close. Close meant suicide. The bomb's range was pitiful. They'd have to dive straight into the Vela flagship's firing arc. Chin strapped in, her face pale but steady. Make it count. The frigate screamed to the atmosphere, trailing smoke and defiance. The Vela flagship loomed ahead, a mountain of black metal and arrogance. Kara's bomb needed physical contact to work. A flaw, a necessity. Elias didn't hesitate. He aimed the frigate's broken nose straight at the flagship's bridge. Alarms wailed. The hull groaned. Kara clenched her teeth and prayed. Impact. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the resonance wave hit. It rippled outward in a silent, shimmering pulse, and where it touched, Vela systems died. Ships drifted, weapons dark. Shields flickered and failed. Across Earth, every human with a gun, a knife, a rock, looked up and moved. The Vela commander's final transmission was not a threat. It was a plea. Asterisk stop. Asterisk. Kara watched from the frigate's wreckage as human ships, cobbled together from stolen parts in sheer spite, swarmed the crippled armada. The Velith had come to erase a species. Instead, they met war. When it was over, the sky was quiet. Kara stood in the ashes of the Vela flagship, her hands stained with alien blood and engine grease. Elias limped beside her, his rifle slung over one shoulder. Chin was already picking through the wreckage, muttering about salvage. The comms crackled. Not Velith. Human. From every corner of the planet, from every resistance cell and hidden bunker, the same message echoed. Asterisk were coming. Asterisk. Kara smiled. Let the galaxy learn what happened when you made humans angry. The silence after victory was louder than the battle. Kara stood on the scorched earth of what had once been a Velith landing zone, her boots crunching over shattered alien metal. The air smelled of ionized particles and something darker, the acrid tang of fear that wasn't human. Around her, the remnants of the resistance moved like ghosts through the wreckage, stripping weapons from dead hands, living or otherwise. Elias knelt beside a fallen Vela soldier, prying the insignia from its armor. They'll send more, he said, tossing the jagged metal emblem to Kara. This was just the first wave. She caught it, tracing the intricate grooves with her thumb. Let them come. Chen's voice crackled over the comms, breathless. You need to see this. The Vela flagship's data core was still intact, its holographic displays flickering like dying stars. Chun had brute-forced her way into the system, her fingers dancing across alien glyphs with the reckless precision of someone who'd spent a lifetime breaking things to see how they worked. Found their comm logs, she said as Kara and Elias approached. They weren't just talking to their command. They were warning them. A playback hissed to life. The Vela commander's voice, stripped of its earlier arrogance, now raw with something Kara had never heard from before. Asterisk. Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not contained. They are adapting. Asterisk. Elias exhaled sharply. They're scared. Kara's lips curled. Good. But it was the next transmission that froze her blood. A response. Clipped and furious. Asterisk. Full fleet mobilization authorized. Burn their world to ash. Asterisk. They had days. Maybe hours. Kara slammed her fist against the console. We need ships. More than this. More than scraps. Chin was already moving, pulling schematics from the core. The Velith have a supply depot on Mars. Weapons. Ships. Enough to arm every resistance cell on Earth. Elias shook his head. It's guarded. So are we, Kara said. The plan crystallized in the space between them. Unspoken but understood. They'd taken a flagship. A depot was nothing. The stolen Velith dropship shuddered as it broke Atmo, its hull still streaked with the blood of its former crew. Kara monitored the scanners, her pulse steady despite the chaos unfolding on Earth below. Smoke rising from a dozen cities, The last Vela holdouts being purged street by street. Elias piloted with a grim focus, his hands steady on the controls. They'll see us coming. Let them, Kara said. The depot appeared on the horizon, a sprawling complex of domes and docking spires. Its defenses lit up like a festival. Beautiful, vulnerable. Chun armed the disruptor charges. Remember, we're not here to destroy it. Kara checked her sidearm. We're here to steal it. Alarms blared as they breached the perimeter. Vela's soldiers scrambled, their formations tight, their weapons live. They fired in perfect unison, plasma bolts carving to the hangar bay. Kara ducked behind a cargo crate, her breath ragged. They'd expected resistance. But this was panic. The Veleth weren't fighting to protect the depot. They were fighting for their lives. Elias took point, his stolen rifle spitting fire. Chin flanked left, her charges already planted on the fuel lines. Kara moved like a shadow, slipping past the chaos to control hub. The console was alien, but the fear in the Vela technician's eyes was universal. She shot him. The depot systems folded like paper. Docking clamps disengaged. Hangar doors yawned open. A dozen ships, fighters, transports, a cruiser, powered up, their engines humming to life. Chen's voice was a snarl over the comms. Go! Kara didn't hesitate. She seized the controls, her fingers flying across the interface. A single command, broadcast on every frequency, every channel, every stolen Velocomms array. Asterisk, this is Kara Voss of Earth. If you can hear this, we have ships. We have weapons. Come and take them. Asterisk, the response was instant. From Mars. From the asteroid belts. From the ruins of dead colonies humanity wasn't supposed to know about. Asterisk, we hear you. Asterisk, the Veleth fleet arrived as the last of the stolen ships vanished into the black. They found the depot in ruins, its weapons gone, its fuel reserves blown, and a single message scrawled across the command hub's shattered viewport in human blood. Asterisk run. The stolen Veleth cruiser shuddered as it tore through the void, its engines screaming under the strain of maneuvers they were never designed to perform. Kara clung to the command console, her knuckles white, as another volley of plasma fire streaked past the viewport. They're learning, Elias growled, spinning the ship into a brutal evasive roll. They're not falling for the same tricks twice. Kara bared her teeth. Then we invent new ones. On the tactical display, the Vela pursuit fleet fanned out. 12 sleek destroyers, their formation flawless, their weapons locked. Behind them, the glittering armada of human ships, cobbled together from stolen tech and desperation, lurked in the asteroid belt. Waiting. Chen's voice crackled over the comm, taut with anticipation. In position. Just say the word. Kara inhaled, exhaled. Now. The trap sprang with beautiful violence. Human ships erupted from hiding, not attacking the Vela fleet, but hurting them, driving them like cattle toward the dead star's gravity well. The Veleth commanders realized too late, their perfect formation buckling as their ships strained against the pole. Kara's cruiser pivoted, its stolen plasma lances spitting fire, not at the ships, at the star itself. The containment charges Chun had spent 3 sleepless nights calibrating detonated in perfect sequence, ripping open the corpse of the ancient sun. For one breathless moment, the void itself seemed to scream as the gravity well collapsed inward, dragging half the Vela fleet with it. Elias hooped as the remaining ships scattered in disarray. Hell's teeth, Kara. You just weaponized a star. Kara didn't celebrate. She watched the dying light reflect in the eyes of the Vela commander whose face filled the view screen, watched the dawning horror as he understood. This wasn't war as the galaxy knew it. This was something new. The comms exploded with voices. Human voices. From the mining colonies of Ceres. From the ice-locked outposts of Europa. From ships and stations and hidden bases no database had ever recorded. All speaking the same words. Asterisk, we're with you. Asterisk. Chun laughed, wild and bright. Looks like we got an army. Elias studied the star charts with a soldier's eye. And the Veleth have a home world. The silence that followed wasn't hesitation. It was the quiet before the storm. Kara reached for the controls. Then let's go introduce ourselves.